Hey my friends, welcome to my channel. I'm Allie Wilkins. I teach about ancient feminine wisdom and I do a lot of different things with that. I do group courses and mentorship and Akashic record readings. I'm a seer, so I can see into your records and give you a lot of helpful information for your life. So anywho, today's video is going to be about the divine destiny of the priestess. So I've done a lot of other videos about the priestess and about, our great fall and what priestesses are and how we need to respect ourselves as priestesses. But something that I think isn't ever really talked about very often is the destiny of the priestess. And, the world that we live in today, and I think people have kind of said that like all the time throughout the last 2,000 years. If you haven't heard me talk about the ages of time, get used to it because I'm obsessed and it's so helpful when you're looking at historical things. So we've been living in the age of Pisces, which is said to be the darkest ages of all time. And this is from basically the time of Jesus to the year 2000-ish. Really now, we're just now shifting into the age of Aquarius, which is a whole different vibe. But first we had to go through this very dark age. And we're living in a time period where we're recovering from so much darkness. And even though it doesn't seem like it, we're coming out of what's called the Kali Yuga, which is also, I forget the precise terminology, but it's basically the dark ages. Like something, I'm not good with science, but something happens with the sun where there's actually like less light in this time period. And this has been for several thousand years. I want to say about 5,000 or 6,000 years that we've been in the Kali Yuga. So the Kali Yuga essentially descends us out of a golden age. So just briefly, golden age is up here. You can think about the ages of time as a circle. I include this in almost all of my master classes that are on my website for free. The golden age is up here, really more like right here. And we've been descending down. So this is like the age of Noah, the Great Flood. This is the age of Hathor, the return to civilization, and the Egyptian temples when these are all said to be being built. And then we go right about here into the age of Pisces, which extends down to here. Also the age of Aries is right here, like Moses time period. Then we go into Jesus here. So when we're down at the bottom, this is like where we are right now. When we're down at the bottom of this circle, we are in the darkest age. So now what we're actually going to be doing in terms of time is moving upward back towards the next golden age. So we have a very interesting opportunity. And I think that the priestess is so important in this. And you can, if you don't identify with the term priestess, I'm going to say anyone who operates with devotion towards the goddess, with devotion towards feminine energy, with devotion towards the mother principle. Because basically we entered a dark age because the mother was removed. And we need both the mother and the father. The mother was removed and all of a sudden everything is destroyed. The mother is the earth. The mother is creation. Father principle, masculine energy, is the container. So you could think about that as being like the earth is the container. Sort of like in the Bible when it says in the very beginning, like, on the first day this was created and nothing was there before. It was just the empty space. The feminine is the creation itself. So if we remove creation, we're just going to go into a big dark space, right? We're going to be flooded with darkness. So we need the return of the mother. So this is going to happen through a variety of sources, not just the priestess. But this video is going to really be for people who identify with that term priestess, or even another term like healer, midwife, seer, prophetess, or prophet, midwife, any of these sorts of energies, or anything like that. Our role is so incredibly important. And I know that it can be really frustrating because sometimes we feel really just ignored or unimportant or just like swept off to the side. I did a whole video that you should definitely watch if you feel this way. It's called something like having respect for yourself as a priestess. And I go into that, like you should really listen to it. I've actually listened to it multiple times to remind me, but I'm going to put that up in one of these corners so that you can watch it. But the destiny of the priestess is the return of the feminine. This is literally the return of that like land of milk and honey. Also, it's talked about in the Bible, this full return of, I don't necessarily think that it's like this ecstatic living where everything is totally perfect and there's no issues, but there's a whole lot more light and harmony and cooperation and nourishment than what we experience today. So, and just like being in alignment with the earth and understanding our connection with the mother in all ways. I'm not talking about your physical mother here, like talking about Mother Earth, like the mother to all of us. Because even if we incarnated here, I believe that we choose our parents and we choose the people, we choose the life that we're going to be in that will serve our soul's purpose. That deep mother principle, I don't think is something that we choose. Maybe we could choose to go to another planet or something, so perhaps, but the mother principle is always nourishing us. And so our role is as the priestess, as the ones in devotion to the mother or to the goddess, whatever you prefer to say, is going to bring life back to the world. It's going to bring harmony back. It's going to bring balance back. And so right now we're kind of in this weird sticky spot where it's like, well, you know, people don't get what I'm doing. Like I'll like sometimes make people stuff for Christmas or make gifts and, you know, give them to my family. Like I've done like candles before and they have crystals in them and I'm like, yeah, I Reiki charge them and I like soaked them in this, I had them in the sun and let them, or making oils or something with dried flowers and essential oils and put them in the sun and they charge and they're like, okay. Like there's not a lot of understanding about all of these sacred forms of working with the earth. There's still a lot of ignorance about it. And I don't say ignorance in a judgmental way. It's just like total unawareness. Like sometimes, and this again isn't a judgmental thing. It's like surprises me because for you watching this, you're probably pretty similar to me. Like you've probably understood that, you know, we shouldn't be eating certain ingredients or certain things are like really actually bad for our bodies. And I'm always shocked at like when I see people still smoking cigarettes or I see people still like drinking soda and it's like, oh, like anyways, so not everybody is on the same frequency or on the same level of understanding. And it's sometimes not just, they're just unconscious, they just haven't seen it yet, right? Like before I used to use, this is just a silly example, I used to drink a lot of iced tea like in high school and stuff and I would always put sweet and low in it. And then I learned that sweet and low, like obviously the ingredients in that, first of all, it's made in a lab and it's like none of it, your body doesn't even know what to do with any of those ingredients because none of it is natural, but also it leads to all these problems. And then I stopped drinking it. And now when I see people using it, I'm like, aren't you like aware? And they're like, oh, I had no idea. So anyways, there's just this level of ignorance or unconsciousness related to a lot of this stuff. And it's just like, you don't know until you know, right? So this is our job to bring this back. And you can already see it being seeded, right? Like you can go to Target and get essential oils, but people don't understand when you go to Target that essential oils used to be weighed, like they used to be treated as gold. They were utilized as medicine. They were extraordinarily sacred in the Egyptian culture. And people don't recognize that. They're just like, I'm pouring some of this in my bath and they don't understand the sacred connection that you can actually create with that. Or they don't understand that when you go to a sacred site, we actually should be in connection, or any land in general, we should be in connection with the land and giving something back and offering as we are taking as well. There's just like sometimes not a connection between the two. And so even though sometimes we're scoffed at, or sometimes like we may not feel like what we're doing is widely understood, or like we're getting enough recognition, or like we are, like people really get it or understand the importance, they will. Please trust that in the future, things are going to be very different. I can see like people, corporations having oracles and seers and people of that nature guiding their business decisions. That's already happening. It's just on a very low key level. Like, you know how kings in the past used to have astrologers that would guide them? That's going to be something that's very normal again. But you have to remember, we're coming out of a 2,000-year period where all of this was banned. You would die for doing this. Like the work I do now, if I did this 500 years ago, I 1,000% would have been burnt at the stake. There's no doubt. So you have to remember the deep, like, what's the word? Like amnesia, but also just there's been this deep forgetting because all of the wisdom was killed off. All the wisdom was killed off, or fear was instilled So, if a grandmother, for example, is in so much fear about if she shares her wisdom, she's going to die, or if she shares it with her child, then her child is going to know this wisdom that spearmint tea can help you with XYZ, or that ginger can help you with digestion. And if she tells her child that, then the child might get hung if she's ever found out to know. That's how the wisdom is lost. And then it's just like we're these, we don't carry that wisdom anymore. So for those of us who do have the wisdom, because we've come back from those lifetimes, or because we've all learned from somebody, we've all received the attunement from somebody, whether it's been verbal, whether it's been an energetic experience, whether it's you just bump into an old person you were probably in the temples with, and you're like, oh my God, I remember so much just by being in your energy, right? We've all had those sparks reignited. And so now we are the ones who are doing that for others. And eventually that's going to spread across the world and everything is going to change. Because we sometimes think that there's a lot of problems with our system, 1000%. But we blame a lot on corporations, and it's like, the problem isn't the corporations, it's the value system. It's the lack of understanding. So what if all corporations were operating in sacred relationship with the earth? What if plastic was banned as a whole, and every packaging item was used in compostable material that would be, dissolved in 30 days or something? Like, the problem isn't the big system that we have, because in many ways we have a very effective civilization. It's just fixing the parts of it that are not understanding or not being aware, not being conscious of the effect on the planet. So I'm like, okay, there's so many places we could go with this, but this is the divine destiny of the priestess, of all of these roles, the witch, the seer, the midwife, bringing consciousness back into all parts of this. And there's so many spaces that we are not even aware that the consciousness has been removed from. Conscious conception, conscious birthing, conscious, like when you're cooking your food, are you rushing through it, right? There's so many parts that, even like for me, I'm aware of so many of these things, but even sometimes when I'm cooking my food, I'm like thinking about a million other things when my attention really should be, in quotes, on the food that I'm cooking, because I know the energy I put into that food is going to come back into me. So there's so much room for more embodiment and integrity in the world that we live in. And those of us who understand these principles of the goddess, these principles of the mother, of the sacred nourishment energy, and the sacred relationship with the earth, this is what's going to change everything. We're asking for changes. This is the energy, the return of the divine mother, that is going to change everything. So we're the ones starting to seed that. And you could call, this is something that I believe is a mission with all light leaders, all people who have this spark of light of like, I have gifts that can support the planet. And so we're just the priestesses are just this little sect of that, right? But with the priestesses, and there's no comparison of like who's better, but with the priestesses, our role is so internal, that we also offer something really beautiful that is an asset to everything else. So we're offering the guidance in terms of internal alchemy, which this is actually the work that needs to be seeded for so many like new creations and new inventions and new ideas and new ways of operating and trashing the old ways. So I just wanted to bring this in because I've been talking about, the fall of the priestess and the trauma of the priestess, but this was a beautiful lineage and the return of it is exciting. And the more of us that start to step out as like, yeah, I'm a priestess and this is what I do and this is how I serve in the world, whether it's serving at your job at Starbucks or serving as the CEO of a company or serving in your Akashic Records readings like me, or hosting retreats or writing books, whatever it looks like for you, the more of us that can start to step into this and be proud of that title, the more the word gets out, right? I always talk about the spread of veganism, and like if you looked at a grocery store in 1980, how many items would have been labeled vegan? There probably would be like 3 items in the store that were vegan, and now there's whole aisles depending on where you live. If you're in LA, there's a whole aisles, right? There's so much more of that available, and it's because the word spreads. It's because our demand and what we choose to purchase and buy and how we choose to operate in the world. So for example, I just did a return with a company because, well, actually they charged my card without approval. But anyway, and I said, I don't want this subscription because I already canceled it, but also I already had a conversation with somebody, and I don't like the values of this company that you're still gonna send something when I already asked you a week before to cancel it. You're not honoring the environment, you're not honoring the customer. I choose to not do business with you anymore because of that, because I wanna work with companies that have certain value systems, right? So just as another example, like this is a whole nother thing, but I'll just seed this in here, drop it in real quick. Like the skincare company I use, all of their products are recyclable. They're all vegan. You can ship your containers back if you want, and they'll clean them and reuse them. So thinking about what are the values that are important to you in relationship to the mother, in relationship to what you want to see on the planet. This is also a way that you can utilize this, even if you don't like, everyone on the planet should be doing this. What is important to you and how are you going to see that? You can look at ice cream. When you go in the ice cream aisle now, there's so many dairy-free options. There's Ben & Jerry's has a whole line that's dairy-free. By the way, the cookies and cream peanut butter is the best. But anyway, I wanted to just bring this in, like if you are operating in this energy, whether you're a healer or a midwife or a seer or a priestess, all of these energies, we have such a beautiful destiny here. We are here at this time for a very specific reason. A huge bird just flew by. We're here at this time for a very specific reason. And please honor that and know the importance of it. So also, if you recognize yourself as a priestess and you feel like you want to deepen this part of yourself more, deepen this, not the archetype, but your actual priestess that you've been in other lifetimes, or healer, any of those roles that we've used before, that I've shared before here, I'm doing a course it's a 4-week experience called Mary Magdalene as the High Priestess, and it's about healing your inner priestess, healing the priestess within, healing those wounds so that you can start to really step and land in this embodiment for yourself, really rooting it into all areas of your life. So I'm using Mary Magdalene because she helped me personally so much with this, and I think that she has so much to offer, and I call her the last High Priestess, which I'll probably do another video about that, but for now, Mary Magdalene has so many different faces that help us incredibly with healing. And she walked this earth, right? So she has this different energy than a lot of the goddesses or ascended masters even. So anyways, we're going to be working with the 4 faces of the Magdalene to support us in this healing and this reclaiming. And what we're going to be doing, I'm so excited about this. It's going to be really, really, it's going to be so healing for you, but it's also going to be informative. So we're going to have one module every week in the 4 weeks that's going to go over one of the faces of the Magdalene and how that can support you in healing. And there's going to be, if you've ever done anything with me, I always over deliver. So there's going to be so many things in addition to that. And then we're going to have one group call per week that I'm going to do another teaching on that same subject. And then also an Akashic Records healing experience at the end. So that's 4 live calls in the session, but 8 teachings. And then you also get 4 Akashic Records experiences. These will be for the group, but this is just going to be so good. I'm just speechless because it's so valuable, and the price point is very low because this is actually the first time I'm doing it. So I wanted to make it, actually really Mary Magdalene told me to make it really a no-brainer price point. So if you would like to join, I'm going to put the link for that in the comments below. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments, or you can email me or message me on Instagram. But that's going to be starting August 11th, and it runs for a month. So yeah, I think that's it. I'd love to hear your reflections though on the destiny of the priestess, how that makes you feel, how you feel, questions you have, or how you feel you're embodying that and what your specific role is. Please put that in the comments. I would love to hear. And then also other people, if they're wanting support from you or want, inspiration and how they can do it, that will be a great way for them to see and get inspired. So yeah, I hope that this video helped you. If you enjoyed it, please thumbs up it. Please subscribe if you want more videos like this. And yeah, I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day and continue doing this important work. Bye guys.